What's up, guys? This is Johnny Talks Baseball. My name is Johnny. Thank you for clicking onto this video and giving it a watch. I just want to thank you for everyone who has subscribed. Hopefully, by the time this video is up, there'll be more than 10 subscribers from the last video that I made. A very short video about one of my very first hats that I ever got. We were at 10 subscribers. My goal is 100, and we're well on our way to that goal. So just thank you. If this is the first time you've seen one of my videos, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Give my other videos a watch as well. So today I do want to talk about the different avenues of shopping for baseball apparel, mainly jerseys and hats. So there's two different avenues that mostly everybody who's lived in the modern age knows about. There's online and then there's in-store. I'll be talking about each one, the pros and cons, and the different outlets within those avenues that are the most popular. So first off, I want to talk about what avenue I use the most, and mostly I do buy online. It's just a lot more convenient for me. There's a wider selection. I don't want to get too deep into the reasoning because I will talk a little bit more about the reasons a little bit later, but I do shop more online than I do in store. But I do want to talk about in-store first. So in-store, you have your chain stores such as Lids, such as Fans, Pro Image, and then you have New Era Store and you have Hat Club. Hat Club, I kind of want to put that more onto the online section of this video because I feel like they have more of an online presence than they do in store. But first of all, I do want to talk about Lids. Lids is probably what I would call the Starbucks of hat stores. Pretty much if there's a mall somewhere out in any major city in the United States, they will have a Lids store. They're pretty popular. They're most probably out of any sports apparel store, they will be first on the list of where people would go. They have a pretty good selection of various baseball hats, whether it's the fitted 5950s, the snapbacks and dad hats. They mostly are New Era hats, but they do also sell 47 and Mitchell & Ness, and a subsidiary company that is owned by Lids, which is Fanatics, which is a brand all in itself of jerseys and hats and other apparel as well. So yeah, there's Lids. Sorry. They do have a major presence in many shopping centers, so most likely, more than not, if you ask somebody, hey, where'd you get that hat, they'll probably say Lids. The next store that I do want to talk about is Pro Image. They're very much mostly on the West Coast. They do tend to have, in size, bigger stores. They lean more towards apparel such as jerseys, shirts, jackets. They have more of a selection of that. They do usually have a wider range of collection of hats. But usually when it comes to Pro Image, because they're such a regional store, if you look at their hat selection, depending on what city you're at, I'm in LA, you'll have 1/4 of that wall of hats as LA Dodger hats. Number one team is the LA Angels, so maybe you'll find 2-3 hats of different variants of your team that's not the Dodgers. If your team is not the Dodgers, if you're a Dodgers fan, if you're a Lakers fan, Kings fan, you're gonna find pretty big selections of those apparel in those stores. They're a very close competitor to Lids, but definitely do not have the presence as they do. Most of the time you won't find Pro Image stores as much as you would find Lids stores, because a lot of the times they hold a bigger stock, so you need bigger space for your store. Lids, it's mostly just hats, so you can have smaller store space and so you can have you can rent out a space for a lit store almost at any shopping center. The next one I do want to talk about is fans, and this is a much more, I wouldn't want to say there's not as many of these stores, which is ironic because they are a subsidiary of Lids. And the only time I ever saw a Fans store was in the Topanga Mall out here in the San Fernando Valley. They were put out of business because most of the business was going to the Lids store, so it's like they put their own subsidiary out of business. But Fans is basically another version of Pro Image. They were a store that did provide a lot more of shirts and jerseys. They did have a hat selection, not as big as a Lids store would have, but it was a pretty cool store. It's where I got my first Boston Braves hat, the one with the Chief head on the front. But unfortunately, that store closed, and so I haven't really seen any of those stores since then. So I'm not going to talk too much about them. And then you have the New Era store. New Era stores are seldom. They're usually one in maybe every big city in the U.S. So the only ones I really, off the top of my head, that I know about are in L.A., Chicago, and New York. These are obviously it's a New Era store. They're going to be exclusive to New Era caps. The one that I've been to in downtown LA is a pretty nice store. Pretty big selection of your typical, run-of-the-mill baseball caps, and then you have some special edition ones, some from the World Series or playoffs, or they have a really good rack of throwback hats and Negro League hats as well. Still pretty pricey. You won't be seeing too many things on sale at a New Era store, but if you ever get a chance, if you're in LA, Chicago, or New York, if you have a chance, if you're a hat enthusiast, New Era hat store is definitely a place to check out. And so right now I want to talk about the pros and cons of buying in store. So the biggest pro in buying in store, you get to try on the hat. And I think for most people, the reason why they will choose buying in store over online is that they can be able to try on the hat. They can, look at themselves in the mirror, see if the hat fits correctly, if it looks good on their head, and they can try as many hats as they want while they're in store. There's not that there's any pressure into buying anything at all, but they can ask questions to the cashiers, to the sales reps that are there about these different hats. They can get a second opinion whether a hat looks good or not. So that's the biggest pro there. And then you can still leave the store if you want, if you don't find anything you like. But the biggest con, I would want to say, and this is my own personal opinion, and this is just me because I like to haggle prices. That's why I'm a big proponent of eBay. If you see a price on eBay and if it says best offer right below that price, I'm usually the one that tries to haggle to get a lower price. I try not to pay full price for anything, and that's what you can't do in stores. You cannot haggle the sales rep. The price that you see is the price that you pay for stores like Pro Image and Lids. Yes, they will have their sales. But most of the time, these are the hats that are just not really that popular. Maybe you'll get lucky and you'll find a hat that is really cool and it's something that you've been looking for. But most of the time, they're the hats that no one else wants to buy, and they're usually for $10 or $20. So that's the con there when it comes to buying in store. And say if you really did want to buy something and you couldn't find what you wanted, and that's another con I'd want to talk about, because sometimes you have a certain vision, you have a certain taste, and you try to go to the mall to visit your Pro Image or your local lid store, and sometimes they may not have what you want. Or if you are an out of market sports fan, especially if you live here in LA, you'll find plenty of LA sports stuff. But say if you're me and you're a fan of the Angels, or if you're a fan of the Buffalo Bills, you're not going to find too many things at a lid store or a pro image store because you are in LA. So most likely you're going to be forced to buy online. So sometimes you waste a little bit of time going to the store and not finding exactly what you wanted, or sometimes they may not even have the size that you want. You may find a hat that you like and you're like, oh man, that's a sweet hat, and I can relate to that. There's been so many times that I've been to a lid store and I find a hat that I really like the color, like the style, like the variation of the logo, but most of the time it's either way too small or way too big. And most of the time they're like, well, they're not really producing the hat anymore, so there's not going to be any restock or reorders or anything like that. So that's another big con in going to in-store, because sometimes you go there not knowing whether you're going to find something you really wanted or not, and you might have wasted an hour or so trying to go to the store. So that leads me to online. So you have outlets like eBay, like I mentioned before, Amazon, Hat Club, and even, I just want to mention too, Lids, New Era. They do have online fronts, but I rarely buy from Lids or New Era online unless it's like something special that I really want, and I don't mind paying a little bit more on the price, but most of the time I try to steer away from that. Again, because I'm looking for deals. I'm not looking to pay top dollar most of the time, and so those are, especially in times like this, the Lid stores, New Era stores, they're all closed right now because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So yeah, a lot of these stores, from the malls are depending on online sales. So first site that I do want to talk about, which is my favorite site, is eBay. So eBay is basically, it's a third-party website just like Amazon. There's a lot of independent sellers out there, and the thing that I really like about eBay is that you can find a lot of rare and unique baseball merchandise. I got this jersey from eBay. I got this hat from eBay. Pretty decent price. I probably paid maybe $40 for this jersey, and usually the authentic jerseys will go up to almost anywhere to $200, especially if you have a player number and name on it. I got this Angels hat. It is a 2010 All-Star Game edition. Pretty hard to find in any store. I got it for about $35, which is still relatively cheaper than you would buy at the store, and both free shipping. And that's the big thing about eBay, is that number one, you can haggle price if it has that best offer tag below the below the price, or most of the time they will provide free shipping, which isn't bad either. You shop on lids.com or New Era, you're not going to get free shipping unless, usually, if you spend a certain amount of money. Every once in a while they'll have deals. If you spend $50, if you spend $100, you'll get free shipping. But usually on eBay, you can scour a little bit and you can find your deals. You can find something for 20 or $30, and you can still find something with free shipping. And the selection is enormous when it comes to eBay. You can find a lot of rare and unique merchandise. Some of it brand new, some of it pre-owned. If you don't mind wearing something that's been worn before, usually in the descriptions of many of these items, they'll say how much it's worn. They'll say lightly worn or worn pretty much. And usually, most of the time, I try to get something that's brand new, or get something that is maybe worn once or twice. I do definitely look at the pictures a lot just to see if there's any discoloration, or if it's dirty. If it's straight up dirty, if I see a hat that has a sweat ring within the inside, I'm like, nope, I am not buying that. So there's eBay. When it comes to Amazon is a little bit more trickier. There's not much of a big selection when it comes to the rare and unique. You'll find your run-of-the-mill stuff. A lot of times Amazon is used as another front for stores like New Era and Lids, and so they'll push those stores' products as well. So you won't find too many really good deals on Amazon, but Amazon does provide the 2 days shipping if you do have Amazon Prime, so that's a bit of a plus there. I never shop on Amazon ever, really. I probably maybe have bought a couple of hats from there. I have bought video games from there, so that's one thing. If you're a gamer, Amazon is obviously a big thing for video games. I do advocate for eBay mostly. But lastly, I do want to talk about one of my favorite online retailers, and that is Hat Club. So, Hat Club does have physical stores, but they're not as numerous as Lids, and even probably not as numerous as Pro Image. But their presence has been known more online, and the great thing about Lids is that they'll have exclusive hats. And if you watched my my video on my hat collection, I do have some exclusive hats that were designed by the guys from Hat Club, and they're usually pretty different variations of your typical sports team hats. You'll have hats that either have a completely different color, or a really unique side patch, whether it's an All-Star Game patch, a World Series patch, an inaugural season patch, or anniversary patch, which is really cool. The ones I really dug, which I haven't been able to get because sometimes when they drop a hat, it sells out that quickly. The ones that I've been really wanted are the icy blue undervisors or the pink undervisors. But those sell really quick. Those are usually their most popular hats. But when it comes to the price, it's usually about the same as you would pay at a Lid store. But the great thing that I really like about Hat Club when it comes to purchasing this stuff, they are partnered with a company called Klarna. And what Klarna is, it's a finance company that basically allows you to get a product, and you can pay installments on it interest free. So a lot of times I'll get a hat from Hat Club, and I'll pay $11 up front, and then 2 weeks later another $11, and another 2 weeks later $11, and then until that hat is fully paid off. So if you don't want to drop $40 or $50 right off the bat, you can go into Klarna. You can make your profile, set up your account information, and that's how I've bought almost all my hats right there on Hat Club, is through Klarna, which is really great because sometimes I want to save a little bit of money and I don't mind paying in installments, and it's zero interest installments, so it's not like you're paying more from the hat than it really is. And the great thing about it too, just like Lids has a point system. You buy a hat for a certain price, you get this many points. Even though you're paying $11 down payment for a hat, you still get the whole entire amount of points that hat is worth. So I have about 275 points just sitting in my cart right now that I can use on a hat today if I wanted. So yeah, I want to talk about lastly the pros and cons of online shopping for sports apparel. The number one con, I want to talk about the con first because it's more obvious than not. You cannot try on what you're gonna get. So sometimes that's a bit of a risk, but if you are very familiar with the fit of your hat, the fit of your jersey, you wouldn't mind taking the risk. And so there's a lot of sellers on eBay that will have no returns, but usually I try to find a seller that allows returns to happen. Say if a jersey is way too big, or if it's a little damaged, or if the hat doesn't seem to fit right in my head, or I don't like the way it looks. Yeah, it's a little bit more work if you have to return something, but the option is still there. So that's the one big con there. Another con, more specifically when it comes to eBay, and I've ran to this problem only once, but I know other people have run into this problem, and it's just bad sellers. So, for example, recently I had bidded on and won a Josh Hader Milwaukee Brewers jersey, and Josh Hader is my favorite relief pitcher right now. And so I was stoked to see that he had a jersey right there on eBay that was being put up for $35. No one else was bidding on it, and I won the thing. And the seller didn't send it, and I sent messages and no response at all. But luckily enough, eBay stepped in and helped me out, got me my refund. Unfortunately, I did not get the jersey, so sometimes that can happen on a site like eBay. But eBay does have systems in place so to prevent any theft or fraud on either end, seller or buyer. So it's a con of buying, but at the same time, eBay does protect you from stuff like that. And it's only happened to me once. Almost 99.9% of the time, great sellers, great products. I've loved it, even though something may be a little bit bigger than I anticipated. The customer service. I was like, I don't mind having something that's a little bit bigger or a little bit tighter. So that's a pro con right there. Biggest pro when it comes to online buying, specifically the eBay, like I've mentioned a few times before, being able to haggle the price down for certain things if the best offer tag is put on the price. The wide selection that you can find of rare and unique apparel, and then the sales too. eBay has a ton of sales all the time. Hat Club has a lot of sales all the time. Even New Era and Lids will have sales a lot to try to boost up their product revenue right now, especially in a time like this where mostly a lot of people are shopping online. So you'll find a lot of deals pretty much on every sports apparel website. And so there you have it, the pros and cons of the different avenues of shopping for baseball apparel. Comment down below. Tell me, your experiences with buying stuff online or in store. Which do you prefer? Once again, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel. God bless you guys and stay safe.